Don't ask.
Also don't ask.
So my friend Donald gave me an entire stick bag full of largely out of print signature sticks. Okay, let's rock. You may remember Donald from such films as this one. Anyway, I really wanted to get Donald on camera for this. In fact, that was the entire idea of the lesson, but when I texted him, it was a no-go. So maybe we'll have him come in at the end to discuss stuff. Basic premise though, he had this 100-pound stick bag full of sticks from people like Elvin Jones, Will Calhoun, Terry Bozzio, Billy Cobham, Bill Bruford, and tons of others with a lot of these signature sticks that are largely out of print. He asked me if I wanted them for a video. I said, oh yes, I do. So in today's video, pretty simple. I play, let's see how many, 8 pairs of signature sticks from famous drummers of the past and present. I get humbled trying to use those people's implement in my own hands, and you'll get to hear my reviews of them. There are a couple that might surprise you. All that's ahead. Stay tuned. So guys, real quick message from our sponsor, and in this case, our sponsor is me, the 80/20 drummer. You're gonna see a bunch of different sticks, you're gonna see me playing a bunch of sticks, and that may inspire you to get better at the drums. And if you'd like to do that, I'd like to provide you with a completely free resource to do that. It's my free 3-video mini course. Click below the player, enter your email on the next page to get it. It's free. Okay, on to the lesson. Our first pair comes from the inimitable Mr. Billy Cobham of Weather Report and Mahavishnu Orchestra fame, as well as many other bands. Billy was renowned for his singles. He was one of those before his time fusion drummers. But what are Billy's drumsticks like? I mean, what kind of sticks do you make for a man who eats, lives, breathes, and sleeps singles? Well, we're about to find out. Okay, first impressions, Billy Cobham stick. So it's got this old school ProMark lacquer, which is really tacky, which I like. I wish they kept, because my hands get really dry during the winter especially, and it's really nice to have some tackiness. You really don't even need to warm up with these, they just stick to your hand. They feel very top heavy, and they also feel short. Check out the bead here. The bead is pretty big. It's a bead from a much larger sort of stick, like a 2B, except these feel a lot thinner and shorter than 2Bs. Okay, let's play them and see what we think. First impressions, Billy Cobham sticks. I'm not used to how top heavy they are. I'm sure you can see me taking them around the block on the kit, and the 2Bs that I usually play with feel very balanced and centered. I like a stick with either less weight or more weight, but that's sort of center weighted. That's just me. So if you're a drummer who likes sort of standard 2Bs, 2As, the sort of center weighted Vic Firth or even ProMark, this is gonna feel pretty top heavy for you. Be that as it may, it's a beautiful lacquer finish. They're really striking looking, and drummers should be able to play anything and make anything sound good. Okay, let's go on to the next. The next pair of sticks I pulled out of the bag went in a completely different direction. They're the Bill Bruford sticks. Bill Bruford of King Crimson fame, jazz and fusion pioneer. If you're listening to my voice now, you're probably looking at the drum porn of his sticks. Some really beautiful sticks. Let's take a closer look. So next up, we have these delicious rock maple ProMark Bill Bruford sticks. And these feel really, really light. They have a square sort of bead, almost like a classical snare stick. There's a stick I used to play in college that were intentionally like think I even have them in my bag over there. They're intentionally really, really thin, and they have a square bead. These are going to be light. These are going to be jazzy. Let's play them, see what happens. The bills felt surprisingly lithe and easy to manipulate. They have a very different sound. They have kind of a papery Bill Stewart sound on the cymbals. A cymbal this weight is really nice on the jazz side of the spectrum, so you can get great articulation, you can get great speed with it, you don't have to try very hard. I personally like my Vader New Orleans jazz because they're a similar kind of heft, but they're a little bit longer, but thumbs up, Bill Bruford sticks, highly recommended. So, among the many drummers whose sticks feature in this bag, and whose sticks I'm afraid to touch because of the legend, perhaps the tip top of that pinnacle is the GOAT, my hero, Mr. Tony Williams. What are his sticks like? Well, if you're watching them right now, they are thick, but they're also beautiful. They have a beautiful Zildjian lacquer finish on them. Let's get a little closer. So the first thing you notice about the Tony sticks is they're fucking gigantic. For a guy who is known for his nimbleness on the ride cymbal, these are like not even 5 Bs, but like 2 Bs. The finish from Zildjian is really great. It's the same as the John Riley sticks. It's barely got a lacquer on it. You can see that beautiful wood grain. The bead looks like a 5B bead, a 5 bead. So let's play these, see where we land. These sort of just feel like 2 Bs. to be or not to be. They're beautiful though. And of course, I was inspired by the man, the myth, the legend to do a really terrible impersonation of Tony. But you gotta do those singles. You gotta do that 5-note ride cymbal pattern. Anyway, these would make a great stick for any kind of like high-powered rock or fusion gig. They're very butt heavy, actually. And as I said at the beginning, I actually like my 5Bs, my Vic 5Bs, which are much more sort of center weighted. Maybe because I'm bad. Anyway, on to the next. From Tony Williams, let's take a sharp left turn and check out the sticks of one Mr. Terry Bozzio. Terry, of course, of Zappa fame, the Brecker Brothers, and some of his own really, really innovative music. What type of sticks do you think Terry uses? Well, sticks with really, really big beads, that's what. Let's take a little closer look. The first thing you notice about the Bozzios, besides the really heavy-duty lacquer finish, just like the Cobhams, again, this is the old school Pro Marks before they did away with 99% of their lacquer. The first thing you notice with the Bozzios is the tip. These are basically beginner pad sticks. These are Vic Firth SD1s, except they're pretty center weighted and they're pretty thin. They're lighter than even my jazz sticks, but a very, very, very big bead for a jazz stick. Generally, that's going to produce a warmer tone, a less articulate tone out of cymbals, but maybe the weight will make up for it. Let's play them, see how we feel. I started off thinking about Brecker Brothers, some skunk funk, so I wanted to do some linear stuff. And I have to tell you, the lightness combined with the size of the bead gives them a very... I'll tell you what it does. It de-emphasizes all the ghost notes and it brings out all the accents. So right away, keeping like a cross chatter or ghost notes like I usually like to do was a little more difficult. Like the Cobhams, they're very easy to grip. Like the Cobhams, they're really easy to play quickly with single strokes. So take from that what you will. The Bozios. So let's take one more quick break to shout out an elephant in the room, or rather a zebra in the room, because I want to tell you about the other sponsor of today's episode. Sure Song Music, brainchild of my old buddy from college, Suresh. Great trumpet player, frequent collaborator, and now he's got merch. I was very flattered when Suresh reached out to me and offered to send me some free merch just so I'd feature it on the channel. Of course, I chose this beautiful zebra print. You can see in the playing shots how well cut it is, but what the camera doesn't capture is how comfy it is. Of course, I chose something a little outrageous, a little ridiculous, because that's my personality. But Sure Song also features a lot of more right down the middle designs. There are a lot of musicians' inside jokes. They've got a huge merch store. Check them out, shop.suresongmusic, that's SURESONG, music.com. From Bozio, it was time to consider the sticks of another jazz goat. One Mr. Roy Haynes, grandfather of drummer slams, held down the drum throne for numerous legends, maybe most famously the Chick Corea Trio. If you're listening to this, you're watching Roy's beautiful, dark lacquered sticks. Let's take a closer look. These Roy sticks feel short, but they have a beautiful dark lacquer finish, have this wonderful vintage white Zildjian imprint on them. They feel a little bit top heavy, and look at the bead. The bead is this very, very thin teardrop. So we would expect them to be very articulate on the ride cymbal. I imagine it's the type of thing where you're gonna have to use articulation to get everything out of the stick. Because they're a little top heavy, they're not gonna bounce super easily, but let's check it out. You cannot play these without having Now He Sings, Now He Sobs in your head. The iconic Chick Corea Trio. They're remarkably easy to play. When you get them in your hands, you don't feel like they're going to be that easy to play, but they just skip off the ride cymbal. The weighting is pretty much dead center, which is what I like in a stick. I would even consider trying these over my Vader New Orleans Jazz. I think the Vader New Orleans Jazz is still my ride or die, but in certain situations where you needed more articulation, less bounce, less volume, I think these would be hot. The next pair of sticks, Donald almost didn't want to include. He almost wasn't going to put them in there until I caught him, and I was like, you have to give me the Elvin sticks. The Elvin sticks, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Elvin Jones, the rocket fuel behind such bands as John Coltrane, Wayne Shorter, and numerous self-led bands, one of which included a beloved teacher from my college days, Dave Liebman. Anyway, let's take a closer look at Elvin sticks. Ladies and gentlemen, the jazz machine, Mr. Elvin Jones. These are the sticks. They are the newer ProMark, the lower lacquer finish. They're extremely thin. Where are they weighted? They're very center weighted. And like the Roy sticks, they've got a very tiny teardrop bead. Let's channel some Love Supreme. Let's get in there. Let's see what we can do with the Elvin sticks. What can I tell you? They're light, they feel nice, they feel articulate. Yeah, it's incongruous thinking about how bombastically Elvin played, but one of the things about Elvin's playing was that he also had this really airy, ethereal lightness, and then he would just drop bombs. And a lot of times, there wasn't a lot of low end or reverb to the way his drums were mixed either, so you would hear just kind of like almost as if you made an iPhone recording of them or something. Like if you listen back to Love Supreme, it's not like he's got a really sophisticated kick drum mic that's capturing all the lows. There's a lot of highs. Anyway, the Elvin sticks. From Elvin, it's another sharp right turn to a modern firebrand of jazz, the controversial, ever virtuosic Ron Bruner. If you're listening to my voice now, you're watching his sticks. Let's take a closer look. So these are heavy for their size. They're on the short side and they're weighted pretty butt heavy, I would say. They have a bead that's rather like the 5A or 5B. I imagine Ron probably holds them down at the butt. I assume these are going to be explosively fast and give me world-class mind-bending chops just for having tried them, right? Well, we'll have to see. These feel heavy in your hand and yet short. The weight is helping you to get articulation and bite. Because they're so butt heavy, you don't feel like the weight's necessarily helping you to put the weight through the stick. In other words, you can imagine that these are built for a drummer with a lot of hand strength who's going to do most of the volume and most of the rebound manually, but they're dense. They feel like they're made out of a heavier element, which of course they're made out of hickory. They feel great though. I recommend picking up a pair. All right. Getting down to the last tune, by the time I was filming these, I was tired, but the last two kept me going. How could you have a signature stick off without the sticks of Mr. Dennis Chambers, the force behind such bands as John Scofield, John McLaughlin. He's played with Santana, he's played with practically everybody. If you're listening to my voice now, you're watching his beautiful sticks in front of the camera. Let's check them out. So those Dennis Chambers. Of course, I'm gonna try to play some Blue Matter stuff. So these feel light. They don't feel as dense as the Ron Bruner sticks. They just feel light and they feel good. Again, it's a very center-weighted stick, which me likey. They also have a round bead and a small round bead. So we'll see. Gadoon, doon, gadoon, gabosh. Okay, Dennis Chambers. I assume my playing there was ridiculous. You guys see if you can identify the two tunes I was quoting there. I think I nailed the beginning of the first one. Also check out Tim Fig Newton's cover of that tune if you identify it correctly. Both Scofield classics. Anyways, Dennis sticks feel nice and good. I'd highly recommend having a pair. So to some degree, we saved the best for last. The sticks you're looking at now ended up probably being my favorite signature sticks of the bunch. Will is also a personal friend of Donald. Donald's got many a story about how generous and kind Will has been for him as a mentor. This, of course, the great Will Calhoun of Living Color. Let's check out his sticks in greater detail. My dudes, these Will sticks feel a lot like the Tony sticks, except that they're more center weighted. And they feel a lot like your boy's favorite 5As. They have a bigger bead. They actually have a beautiful bead. I can't wait to see what this bead sounds like on the drums. I think they're a little bit more butt weighted than standard 5Bs. I'll have to ask Donald to ask Will if that's true. Anyway, shout out to Will, huge fan. About to try your sticks. So these inspire straight eighth, Harvey Mason type things. And you'll see me in the segment doing that. They feel very nice. Amongst all the sticks I tried today, these might be the first I would pick up just because they're as good, if not better, than the other Vic 5As. I like the extra bead girth. It feels like you get more of a... It helps you with the bounce when you're doing the... Anyway, the Will Calhoun sticks, we've gone through what, 7, 8 pairs? That's it for this time. Maybe we'll do more another time. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed that whirlwind tour of 9 pairs of SIG sticks from famous drummers, a lot of which are no longer in print. Do you have a favorite amongst them? Leave a comment below. Is there any drummer you thought that I was particularly good or particularly bad at using their sticks? I mean, keep it polite, but leave a comment below. And dudes, as I mentioned at the top, this episode is brought to you by me, the 80/20 drummer. I'm not gonna sell you anything, but I am gonna give you something for free. If you feel like you're stuck in a rut with your drumming, you wanna break free of your plateau, I recommend my 3-video mini course, which you can get for free by clicking below the player and entering your email address in on the next page. 3 videos that'll make you better in the next 3 weeks than you've gotten in the previous 6 months. Dudes, it's been real. Always enjoy these. See you again in another lesson of the week.